Book of Origins. This task was undertaken and carried out by the order of Toth Neelathan made in Solomon Court, assembled as before times at Tangekil, near Sunderstone, 160 years after the death of Ardpeth, the last king, 20 years after the death of Garadon Pancras, 80 years after the death of Kelwyn, 100 years after the death of Aflarid, 13 years after the death of the great king who died in the year of the devil's breath. This deluge, lasting upward of a dozen years, so striking the land that people lost their distinctions, and the long conflict came to an end, 44 years after the Battle of Strathard, when the Christian king died in his 46th year, going down with a great slaughter before the hand of Cadwallon of the first faith, who died at the hands of a treacherous king, being trapped between the trees of Dinslayer. In the month of September, between the 7th and the 10th day, in the 3rd year of the reign of Ethelbred, which is the 7th year in the reign of Egfrid, son of Oswier, king of the North Saxondom, the 14th year in the reign of Ardwulf, king of the East Saxondom, and the 2nd year in the reign of Ketwin, king of the West Saxondom, the 4th year in the reign of Lothair, king of all the Kents, and the 5th year we suffer under the afflicting fires of the Black Bull of the North. It is 222 years since the coming of the long sword-wielding warbands, and the 165 years since the death of Octher. It is 130 years since the last warband came and stayed with the land they took, when Britain ceased to be, during the reign of King Ifor. These are the elect Keel Wardens who undertook the work: Eumog and Lewin of the Gutrodors, Pencluith the Daldradan, a smith of the shield makers, Healaf the carver, born among the Scots of the sea, of the shield makers, Malcuin, a chief born among Quits of the engravers, Enelek the potter, born among the Quits of the shield makers, Epidruid the grinder, born at Alcoth of the coppersmiths, Fronwyn the swordmaker, son of Clud, a Briton born as a freeman among the Saxons to the west and an engraver of note, Edwin the elder, a talesman who writes, born of a Mercian of the shieldmakers, and Glasson the Inglinger, who became one of us. This preamble appeared at the back of this book of the first edition. It was moved to the beginning for this edition. Also, some of the first edition e-books used OGF instead of OGS in the citations. The correct form is OGS for this book. Editor. Quote. Chapter 1. The World Birth. This is an unhappy time of strife and change, and the old folk knowledge and skills are passing away like leaves falling on flowing water. We of the Gwydynad are therefore gathered together under the shield of Herwil for the purpose of preserving the things dear to our hearts. To do this, we firstly discover their biding places, and secondly commit into writing all the hallowed tales concerned with them. Also, as the mortal memories of men perish with their frail bodies, we deem it well to commit into book writing the old knowledge once written in our minds. Behind us lie 14 earth generations of mankind, and this has been the manner of their naming: the generation of light, the generation of fire, the generation of water, the generation of grass, the generation of trees, the generation of wood, and the generation of stone. And all these together are the blissful generations. Then followed the generation of the spear, the generation of the axe, the generation of the shield, the generation of the sword, the generation of the bow, the generation of the helmet, and the generation of the chariot. And all these together are the homeless generations. The years before us contain 6 full earth generations, and whatever remains of this generation of change. Each of the past earth generations was 3 times the length of the one which followed it. Men ask, as men always will, how the widespread wonderful world came into being, and whose were the first feet treading in the good spoil upon it. This, masters, is the old tale concerning the dawn time of life, handed down from the blissful morning days of earth's existence. Before time was born, it could be conceived. Before all things seeable by the darting eyes of men were seen by any eye, they were conceived. Before sound was heard by any listening ear, it was conceived. All things now knowable by man were first conceived by none but the inconceivable one, existing solitary in awesome loneliness. Back in the pre-dawn state there was no feeling, throbbing, loving life beyond the alone one. There was nothing. There was nothing in which something other could be perceived and manifested. The inconceivable one's reflecting mirror was not yet made. Love, the sunlight of life, could not yet be known. For even one so great could not yet conceive a state of satisfaction in self-love. The one thing not capable of conception was the realization of response love. So, from the inconceivable one there came a great outpouring melody, the song of conception, the notes winging and vitalizing consciousness outward in radiating ripples. All that is now existing came out of that which was harmoniously sung into being, and the sweet echoing vibrations still sound in rhythm throughout the many circles of existence. All life and matter vibrate in response to a divinely originated, orchestrated melody and rhythm. As the sweet notes of the divine lilting music swelled outward, heaven was formed from the song-created radiance of immortal light. Rising on a higher note of ever-increasing splendour into a great pulsating chorus, it hurled forth a whole string of worlds, scattering them in illuminating brilliance through the black matrix of Ked. It was like a handful of bright pearls being thrown into the darkness of the night. In a perfectly timed cadence of melody and harmony, the worlds were hurled into separate existence, each finding its proper place in accordance with its note. All life is therefore nothing except a response to harmony and melody, to the spreading ripples and resounding echoes from the first divine hymn, the life-awakening song. The only disharmonious notes were those which later emerged from the hearts of sinful men. Songs and poems of men, poorly stirring the unresponsive heart, are futile attempts to recapture some part of the first grand symphony. Men instinctively know they are musicians in the great orchestra of life, singers in the chorus of existence. The song of life still vibrates upon the lute strings of each throbbing heart, filling it with responsive vitality. On earth it can never be heard in perfection, yet it is here the singing lessons must be learned. For once through the dark archway in the court of splendour, the new released spirit must introduce itself by song. The good clean spirit vibrates with a happy harmonious melody, while the dull evil-doing spirit rasps out harshly in agonising discord. The first thing the travel-weary homecoming spirit hears is the welcoming notes of the divine melody. Happy are they who harmonise with it, sorrowful are those who vibrate discordantly. Life is a song, sometimes a song of sadness, sometimes a song of joy. Now a dirge, then a hymn echoes through the chambers of creation. Often a gay carol or lilting love song gladdens the ear of the air. All this is the song of life. So lift up your hearts and rejoice in the singing soul, which will, in days to come, rise on ghostly wings to quit the inner circles of war, where the discordant notes of mortals intermingle with the melodious notes of spirit music, winging its way to where star-girt chorus sings in glory. Out from the inconceivable one came the radiating substances of Jua, who sits supreme in the invisible universal hub, and this is his circle. The outflowing notes became contrasted among themselves, dividing into two, and those that poured downwards became the substance of Manvar, the life-bringer. From the life-radiating substance of Manvar came Mamdadeh, who spread life wide over the world. The son of Mamdadeh was Dardar, whose name was not spoken in the before times, and he carried the spirits of men in his seed. These are the generations of the ancestral godmen who came from Dardar, as they have been known tons, and it is well to know from whence we came, we being of their blood. We stand high among the progresses of mankind, not being numbered among the least, and sad will be the day when men lose pride in their heritage. Yet it is foretold that the day will surely come, and at a time when men stand on a strange threshold with the choice of regeneration or decay and doom. Those generated from the seed of Dada were the three heaven-sent forebears of mankind, named Magog, Gatuma and Keli. We are told that these were beings in spirit form dwelling apart from the universal hub, at the outer reaches of Kaugant. But of this there is no sure knowledge. It is known only that Magog ruled in the north and east, Gatuma in the south and Keli in the west. But all tales tell of Keli's travels from the wide lands of the east to this sea-girt green isle. The consort of Keli, the all-knowing, who guards the memories of men, was Kithwin, the first well-beloved. And they had a son and daughter. The son was dark-visaged Aveg, and the daughter Kerirwe, the most beautiful of women, who set the standard of womanhood, to which all who desire to catch the will-o'-wisp of love should aspire. The son of Gatuma was Gatumugna, the skyfighter, whose son was Tuwait, the town founder and metal master, who married Amarith, the sky chief's daughter. Their sons were Nodinos, the first earthling, and Magilmish, the wanderer, in whose days the sky chariots came. It is told how, in the glowing dawtime of the world, Amarith flew on swift wings of the spirit from her kingdom in the west to consult with Tuwait, the eastern father, son of Gatumugna. They met beneath the great life tree known as Calestrid, which grew at Enoch. They lived a while within the green bower set in the lush lands surrounding the life tree, and it was for her the ring of youth was forged. This she gave to her seducer, and so became as other women, while he lived in youth and strength. It is thus that the ring became known as the prize of seduction. Magilmish was a mighty one among men, whose fame spread far and wide, and he was called the Lord of Battles, the Victory Winner, the Man Smiter, the Earth Burner, the Wind Fighter, and the Water Spouter, and called Gilamish before times. Those were his names among all the peoples of those days, for not all knew him by name, and some misnamed him. His son was Jovan, whose son was Bethbul, whose son was Amul-Ugad, whose son was Lugad, the Hammerer. The daughter of Nadinos was Aoife, born of the Sky Mother. Aoife married Nud, the under-earthman whose eyes could not bear the daylight, and their son was Gwyn the Fair-Faced. Aoife ran away from Nud and became the wayward wife of Beles-Hetan. The sons of Magog the great brooder were Khalifa and Mamagog the fertilizer. The son of Khalifa was Halith the life-bringer, whose daughter was Amarith the desirable, much besought by the battle kings. Those who hold the old tongue call her Astarith, and say she was the mother of the first true man. These are not things to be hugged to the heart, for it would be a wise man indeed who knew the nature of the first mortal man after the sinful intermingling. The son of Mamagog was Belia the Bright, first husband of Donna's smiling eyes, and one of their sons was Lu Dewtears, the bright, happy cradle child who laughed in the sunshine. It is told that he shed tears of glistening dew, which healed any wound, and unless these be the rainstones, the story is past understanding. He became king of Carguthrin, where tales of his times are still told in the halls. The other son, Lu's brother, was Malvas Anshriver of the Dark Tears, and it is said that if he cried, any tears falling on bare flesh would raise unhealable weeping sores. The tale goes that Malvas possessed the bale bag containing foul maggots of sickness and the cankerworms of barrenness and infertility. Also it held within its folds the bale book with recipes for every dire event and tribulation. His companions were the dread-looking whale-wolves of death, but now none knows the meaning behind the tale. We do know that Malvas was the forefather of the Dark Dwarfs. We know too that the ancient tale-tellers dressed wisdom and truth in garments of frivolity and motley, so only the discerningly benefited, while the mindlessly many folk were momentarily amused but then passed them by as things of little consequence. Who, not knowing when looking at the mud mussel, would believe that a beauteous pearl must lie within. The sons of Lubai's first wife Anath, she who caused the building of mystery full Camelas for the glorification of men, and who died because of her desire for Thaneros, were Belesetin and Franam. Their daughters were Branwen and that Nerthus, sometimes called Maniku in the old tongue, who was the first wife of Nordanos and mother of the first full woman. The sons of Lubai and Marigu were Kela, Gwynon, the welcomer of warriors, Leah and Robeth. And the first wife of Leah was Pendora, by whom he had two sons, Mandor Brack and Franz, and a daughter Branwen. By his second wife, the Northern Beauty, Leah had Thanis, Wathin and Dylan. The first wife of Belesetin was Aoife, who married Nud after being cast out from her home place. His second wife was Franwi, and his son was Evalach, guardian of the gate, and his daughter was Modren, whose son was Orwin Wiseheart. The second husband of Donna was Manwyddan, and their daughters were Pendora and that Arinrada, who gladdens the hearts of old men. They lived in the days before the misty veil became impenetrable, and Evalach ruled the isle containing a forest of fire apple trees, which men now misunderstand. Many meanings are lost to those who have learned the old tales of wisdom in the new tongue. Arinrada married Treath, the white-haired, and their son was Athlan, the strong wave wanderer, Colhain, the teacher, and Cornela, the bull-born war-watcher, and their daughter was Mebed, who married Bramathamelin. The son of Athlan was Elan, the seasmith of the floating forge, who married the daughter of Manwyddan, for whom he made armour of a mysterious metal, which no axe, spear, sword or arrow could penetrate. The son of Elan was Corunas, the horn-headed, who married Newlin, the fair maid, daughter of Bramathamelin. She whom they of the old faith called Tanis, the moon maid. But it was not her desire that brought the first daylight, it was another's. Their son was Laledkin the larger, whose son was Hughie, great chief of the upright ones, who married Helen Blooderwed, whose son was Ayed, who married Sybil the strange priestess, whose son was Bridin, whose sons were Bridin the younger, and Belinos the book-bearer. The son of Belinos was Bladud the builder, who was cured from a corrupting disease by mud from a swine's wallow. Bladud married Kelwyneth, daughter of Molmed the wise, whose wife was Tishana, whose mother was Sybil, whose husband was slain by Castwellin the invader, while fighting with the dark men of Philistus, with whom they had sought refuge. Bethbel married Anaroth, and their daughter was Anath. Athlan married Nead, daughter of Vala. The son of Bladud was Elas, whose son was Locrinos. The son of Molmed was Marsis, whose son was Camba, with whom Kelwyneth sought refuge in Fincura, over the sea of Metris. The son of Camba was Humber, who failed to build his boats of ash slats, so they came apart, and he was drowned, whose son was Erigan, whose son was Cratylin. The wife of Humber was Marba, daughter of Fermadmid. The son of Corleon was Neptorin, and his daughter was Sowithi, and Neptorin married Auckland. The sons of Mandabrak were Luck the arbitrator, who plays with the chance chips, and Dianket, who first taught men the use of healing herbs, and that Lukton, who was the uncle of Lugard, and who taught men the ways of working with wood, and who could fix a spearhead immovably into its shaft. There is a tale at variance with others which states that the daughter of Dianket was Newlin, the raven-faced, who married her uncle, which ill-omened marriage caused barrenness among cattle and grain-growing corn to lay down in shame. The sister of Neptorin was Suithi of the Fair Isle, who married Lugard Hardhand the Hammerer, who taught the working of bronze and was the father of our people. It is told how he was shot in the thigh by a dwarf's arrow, and how every year at Samhain the deep wound opened and erupted a vile venom which dropped off to dry into a grey powder. This wound was eventually healed by the kiss of a rainstone, and it is said that in this way its holiness was discovered. But surely the drops of venom are the vile rites of the dwarfs. The son of Neptorin was Grakenwyd, and his daughter was Nanara, who married Camalognatha, builder of the high-walled city over the water, who was the son of Ognana and Brigenda. Camalognatha sought refuge in this land, and taught men the art of writing on wood and stone. The tales concerning the doings of our forebears in faith and their generations are not well known among us, for we are a different people having another tongue. Yet though some tell them one way and some another, we have sought out that which is common to most. In these times of change it is well to have an anchor in the past, but unless it bites into a sound seabed, it is of little value. It is said that the sole message which can be given to the future is words written in the past, so we write.